I wish that baseball was in the position they were last year, which is the position softball's in. Which is they knew they were going to be playing at home if they won a regional anyway. And Alyssa Orange is with us now from Pig Trail Nation. Alyssa, we had Mary Half on earlier in the show, and she was talking about the atmosphere and all the traditions the fans do and all of that. They had the Super Regional at home last year, and it didn't work out well. What is different between now and 12 months ago?
Well, I think confidence is different. So you're in your place for the second time now, and this is an Arkansas team that. Sorry, my face was trying to dial stuff on the other.
You're good.
I'm like thinking on my phone, like, what is happening? My cheek's trying to dial things. Well, this is a team that's been here for the second time now. At home, they went and they played a super regional on the road a couple of years ago. But I think now, under their belt, they kind of know what it takes a little bit. And this team also, Courtney Deifel's talked about it. They don't need to be motivated by last year. They're motivated enough about what they've done this year. And their confidence and never really feeling like, the game is too big or moments are too big, and just stand the course and staying poised. And so with experience and confidence, I think that this team is a lot more prepared mentally than they were a year ago, and I think that's going to be the difference.
Got to be nervous, though, when you see like a team that won a road regional that's coming into your ballpark, because I remember what happened the last time that happened with baseball, and NC State won a road regional and then shocked everybody in college baseball. Where is Texas really dangerous? Yeah. What would make you nervous about the Longhorns in this series?
Oh, I think the biggest thing with Texas is momentum. Arkansas, I think, is the talented team in this regional, obviously, super regional, obviously, but Texas has that momentum, and sometimes that's the scariest thing about postseason. Again, we saw it last year with NC State, is you get that high of going on the road and beating Washington in Seattle at their own regional, and now you're going to Fayetteville, and you're kind of playing this underdog role, and that momentum can carry you really far. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is they can't let Texas start getting on a roll. They need to keep Texas on their heels and play their game, and I think Arkansas will be okay, because if I think you start to get Texas some momentum, they got through that winner's bracket. Washington beat them in Game 6. They came back in Game 7 of that regional and played really well and beat them. So that's where I think you just got to keep Texas on their toes.
Mm-hmm. And Alyssa, coming out just a few hours ago, the softball team Twitter account announced that they're going to do a whiteout at Bogle on Thursday, which will go a long way in creating that atmosphere and getting off to a good start. Have you ever seen a school do something like this, especially in postseason play? I can't think of one off the top of my head where we've seen it on the baseball side, but I think it's pretty cool that they're wanting to show some intimidation game one of the Super Regional.
Oh, this is Texas. They were going to do something, right? They striped out this stadium during football season. It kind of would have been cool if they would have striped this out, but I'm down for a whiteout. Look, I am pro any kind of whiteout, blackout, stripe out, red out, whatever it is. I just think it's so fun, and it just gives the atmosphere that extra boost. We know there are going to be fans out there, but when you're looking and you're standing in the batter's box, if you're Texas and you're looking out and you just see a sea of white in the berm, it could be intimidating, and they're loud, and I think this is going to be really, really fun. But you're right, Drew, I really haven't seen it, but I'd love to see more of it, because I just think it brings such an added element to an already really great crowd.
Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it was a great crowd over the weekend, but unfortunately you tune in, especially Championship Sunday, and you see some empty seats, especially behind the plate, and then you look at ticket prices. I saw some tickets going for $250. Is that going to be a problem again this week, where season ticket holders and other people are going to try to capitalize on the success of the Razorbacks like this?
It's such a touchy subject in here. I'm going to say this. I hope not, Drew. But I know that there's money involved, obviously. to make some money and for the athletic department. And so, what I was told by a fan is that a lot of those season tickets first go to like top Razorback Foundation donors, and a lot of those are companies, and so those companies buy tickets and then give them to their employees, and then it's those employees who either don't come or are trying to sell them. I don't know how completely accurate that is, but clearly there were some people scalping tickets. And so at what point, after what you saw at the regionals, does the ticket office and the athletic department say, okay, what can we do differently this time? But then at the same time, they're still trying to make money. And you can go back to a lot of things about COVID, facilities, if Courtney Deifel, gets a raise. Like, there are so many things that money contributes to. And unfortunately, we're seeing the repercussions of we want to make money with now we have empty seats in the stands. And so where do you give? Do you hate seeing these empty seats but you still want to make money? Or do you reprimand the people who are selling them because you can trace back those tickets to who bought them? There needs to be an answer. But I don't know if there's necessarily an easy answer because you got to look at it from both sides. But I absolutely agree with everyone who was saying it was disappointing to see those empty seats because I get it. I was sitting there up on the concourse at our media spot, and you can see it. There are pockets that are empty. And I understand that some people are going to come back and say, well, there are those tickets that are allotted to the other teams so their fans can buy them. And, those might be empty if those teams lose. Well, yes, but then there are a lot of other empty seats outside of that little section of tickets that you're referring to. So I'm going to be interested to see how and if they learn anything from the regionals into the supers.
I think they will be. I'm going to be optimistic about it. I think that we're going to see not as many open seats, especially chairbacks behind home plate. Now, before we get into baseball, I do want to get your opinion on this. And I'm shocked I've been able to hold my tongue for an hour and 43 minutes about this topic because earlier this morning in a town not so far away called Memphis, Tennessee, Penny Hardaway talked to the Memphis media and said that he is pushing for a home-and-home deal to start with Arkansas this season for non-conference, which obviously I'm going to absolutely love. How do you think Arkansas fans will look at this matchup between Arkansas and Memphis, which had a lot of great matchups back in the 90s, but I couldn't tell you the last time these two teams played?
Yeah. I feel like I remember correctly when Mike Anderson was still here and Tubby Smith was at Memphis, they were working on something.
It got close.
Then it didn't actually. They did. They got close, and then it didn't happen because Tubby Smith left, and, of course, Mike Anderson departed Arkansas. So I feel like we were getting close, and then it didn't happen. And now with Penny and Eric, I think we're going to get close again. And my whole thing about these kind of rivalries is why not? Why not play these games? You recruit. Now, if you're Arkansas, you're recruiting nationwide. But there's a hotbed in Memphis and a lot of talent in Memphis on the basketball circuit. And these are a lot of guys who are playing with kids from Arkansas on travel league balls and in the summer. And same with, Memphis can pull that card too. Like, we want to recruit and we can get into Arkansas and recruit as well. And so I just think it'll make the game better. I don't see why. It's a lot of fun. You can have a lot of Memphis fans come up to Fayetteville. You're going to have a lot of Arkansas fans go to Memphis because it's right on the border. So for me, it's a no-brainer.
Well, the only thing that I think most people would be a little worried of is having to listen to me for a full week leading up to the game. And I can guarantee everybody out there listening, you will hate me by the time the game tips off. So,
hey, you know what? It's just a little fun.
Exactly.
If it got to a point where my alma mater was ever playing the Razorbacks, I would have to hold my tongue. But you can have some fun. You can have some fun.
Did you hold your tongue in the 2019 College World Series, Alyssa?
I did. I sat in the stands. I wore all black, and I didn't say a word.
Yeah, I felt like wearing black after that game too. You celebrated quietly, though, didn't you?
I did. I got a little fist pump in. just a little one.
All right. Well, I wouldn't have given you one at that point. Last thought on baseball. I mean, what do they need? I think. I mean, for me, I think it starts and ends with starting pitching right now. That's the backbone of a good team. That's what stabilizes things. And until look, I mean, even 5 innings from your starters right now, giving up a couple of runs would be good enough. I think.
Yeah, and I think you're right. Dave said it after that Alabama game when he was asked, could this be a turning point? This kick in the butt that this team needs to turn things around. And he was like, we'll see. But at the end of the day, if the pitching doesn't get better, it's not going to get better. And Mike Irwin and I were talking yesterday that, Mike said, I go back to that Connor Nolan outing against Florida. And he was lights out, 7 innings, great job. And it was like, okay, that's when Connor Nolan is going to, this is it. This is going to be a great end to the season. And then it kind of just started to kind of go downhill a little bit. So can Connor kind of turn it around and get back to the Connor Nolan that we saw in that Florida game? Hagen Smith can settle in a little bit. He's a freshman. He's not used to pitching this much. And so are we seeing now a freshman arm that's starting to tire towards the end of the season? Because there's so much more baseball being played in college than it is in the high school level. And Jackson Wiggins, what do you kind of do with him? Because we've seen him kind of teeter-totter a little bit in the last couple of outings that he has. Do you add Will McIntyre back in that? But I think you're absolutely right, Phil. I mean, if they don't get this starting pitching, where you can get 5-6 innings out of these guys, I just don't know outside of Brady Tigard and Evan Taylor, but even Evan Taylor has struggled a little bit, and Cole Ramage. This bullpen isn't carrying you. You got to have starting pitching, and you got to have some innings out of your guys.
Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.